Construction Committee meeting. Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Would you mind, for the record, reading out who's in attendance and maybe give Susan another few seconds to join us?
Absolutely. So we have President C. Richard Shaw III, Susan Beckman, Harold Smethels, Jack Hamlin, as well as Special Advisor Greg King. And then we have our Sterling Ranch Cab staff, Gary Debus, Jessica Tolles, Les Morgan, Andreas Demal, Britt Stanek, Kaylin Hicks, myself, Cameron Richards, and Jake Tolbert. And Susan Beckman just joined us. Just one moment as I allow her. Is there anyone that I missed? Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to you. And hi, Susan. Welcome.
Hi.
Oh, good morning, Susan.
Thank
you,
Evelyn.
Kaylin. I'm calling the meeting to order at 10:03 on. And first order would be to review and approve the agenda from our meeting, I believe was December 11th. Can I have a motion to approve unless there's some corrections or amendments we need to make?
Mr. Chair, oops, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
Mr. Chair, I think the first item is the review and approval of the meeting agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Well, I appreciate you keeping me in line here too. So, yeah, correct. Is there anything we need to add or delete from the agenda? Anyone?
Staff has no changes to the agenda this morning.
Sorry, one correction on that. We did update the pay applications number that reflected on the agenda. So there is just that updated of the number.
Okay. And what is, for the record, what is the new number?
Yep. So the pay applications totaling 537,057.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Kaylin. Any other changes or amendments? Okay, then I'd appreciate a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Susan. The agenda is now approved. Moving on to disclosures. Cameron?
Yes, good morning. So all standing conflict of interest forms were filed with the Secretary of State 72 hours in advance. Notice of the meeting was posted more than 24 hours in advance. If there are no other disclosures to be made based off of the agenda, the meeting can proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next topic would be public comment. Kaylin, are there any members of the public online?
Mr. Chair, I do not see any public comment unless any of the directors or special advisors have any public comment. I do not see any hands raised, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Then I will open and now close public comment. And moving on to administrative matters, agenda item 5A. Now we can review and approve the minutes from our December 11th meeting. If there's any corrections, please let me know. Okay. If not, then I'd appreciate a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting on December 11th.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Susan.
Second.
Thank you, Harold. Minutes are now approved. Moving into management matters. Gary, you want to take your turn?
I'll run real quick and then turn it over to Jessica. But we do have, I guess this is going to be an exciting year in 2025. We have so many great projects coming up, and we will be actively engaged with Douglas County on the construction or design and then subsequent construction of the roundabout at Eagle River and Waterton Road. I'm looking forward to that project, and hopefully that will be concluded by the end of 2025. We also have a lot of new amenities that are going to be coming online and a lot of other refresh projects that you've heard a little bit about. You'll hear more as we go through the year. But I think that our residents and future residents, as Harold, we always look at both of those. One begets the other. So we think they'll be very excited about that. And we're extremely happy where we're at right now and where we're going with the cab. So thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Jessica?
Yes, we wanted to report to the committee that as of January 9th, last week, we have 2,571 homes sold and closed here at Sterling Ranch. As Harold mentioned, we made that top 50 list with John Burns again, which is really impressive considering that we're inland. If you go to the John Burns website and you pull it up, you see all of the communities in Florida, Texas, California. There's one in Utah and one in Colorado, and there's one way over in Virginia. So that is an amazing feat for us. And that is, I'm looking at it right now. It's such an honor for us to be on that list again. We did last week hold a 2024 recap for our staff. And I just wanted to go through a couple of slides. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but we did accomplish quite a bit as the CAB last year. We updated our employee handbook. We launched ADP for our hourly team to be able to clock in and clock out. We changed IT companies. We've added staff. We now have a total of 32 staff between our full and part-time staff. And we just wanted to quickly go through some of the different projects that Gary highlighted. We are working on finalizing the construction drawings and the easement agreement with Alliance to be able to install the Prospect Village Monument on the south side of Waterton Road there at Rampart Range, which will be a great addition there and help really showcase that people are coming into Sterling Ranch on that side. Les and his team did quite a bit with landscape installations and reviewing new homes as they were installed. We did landscape installations in Prospect Village along Waterton. We did the Middle Fork Tree Lawns, Ascent Village in 4C, and lots of other things. James gave a recap of our operations side, and we had just over 1,000 support tickets issued through our Sterling Ranch 311 help ticket app. And of those, we resolved 993 before the end of the year. So really great numbers. When he started earlier this year, we had over 200 open tickets and we're less than 50 now. So that's really remarkable. And when you look at how our team has performed, we did hire our landscape technicians after we hit the halfway point in the year. But when you look at how many, if you want to go to the next slide, Kaylin, how many tickets, that top line are tickets that were completed by one staff member. And then all the rest of them are the rest of the CAB staff who had tickets assigned to them. If you go to the next slide, Whitney Matthews, who is our facilities manager, he by and far accomplished the most tickets and resolved the most issues. He's a jack of all trades and handles a lot of things behind the scenes so that most people don't even know that there was even a problem or a concern before it was even resolved. They in-housed some of the snow removal operations. We've taken on trail repairs, seeding in our native areas. We were even able to perform some concrete repairs to the trench drain collars for our construction team for warranty work and did a lot of mulch top dressing for either rock mulch or wood chip mulch. And that saved the community a significant amount of money. If we had outsourced those, we would have spent over $88,000 on those projects. So by insourcing the right things at the right time, we continue to save money in construction, in warranty, and just in operations costs for our community. You're heavily involved as a committee with our parks and amenities. We are continuing to build out our parks. This is a preview of the updated playground design for Prospect Village Community Park. We've been able to double the size of the fully inclusive playground. If you want to go to the next slide. And we are currently working on the updated engineering for that playground layout for the drainage and for the updated resort style pool that will have a larger food and beverage area. So we will continue construction here shortly as we work to have the playground and the park amenity open this spring. For those of you who don't know, Prospect Park is way down there in the corner, that little oval park there. I see Greg, do you have your hand up?
I do. I just have people ask questions about the pool. They just want to know, is there what's going on with the pool? And if I understand correctly, it had to be re-engineered to help with the soil. What is the status of the pool?
So we are just
design?
finalizing the final pool design. We have 1 or 2 more meetings before we'll be presenting that updated design to the community. I think they're going to be thrilled with the amount of space, the size, the functionality of the pool, and the increased food and beverage area. We always hear from people that they want to be able to have snacks or drinks at the pool. So it is going to be a best-in-class pool design. We're just finishing up the final pieces, and we'll be able to roll out a great update for the residents.
Great. Details to come. Thank you.
Yes. This is what the inclusive playground will look like. We've done some renderings on that, and I look forward to showing you some renderings of the pool at our next construction meeting. Kaylin, if you just want to kind of flip through, we do have Burns Regional Park, our pickleball courts. We have passed our location and extent hearing. We got full approval on that. We have our contract for the company to come in and do the installation. We are finalizing construction drawings to include having a fountain and restroom facility here at the pickleball courts. So once we have those done, we'll be able to continue work. Les's team, and on the construction and land development side, they're putting in water lines in Ordway and Rico starting next week, weather dependent, and then continuing to move on with the grading in that area. So we're really excited. We hope to be able to do a groundbreaking end of February, maybe March, and then have a ribbon cutting the end of May to early June, all dependent on weather and construction. Yes, Mr. King.
So you're going to do the bathroom and water now rather than later?
So we're going to do a fountain with a bottle filler, a dog station, and a hose, a locking hose bib, because we will need water for maintenance so that we can rinse those courts off and wash them periodically. And we are putting in a pad for a high level service porta potty, similar to what you might see in Grant Ranch or Ken Carroll at some of their parks. DRC is reviewing that design tomorrow at their meeting.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I really wonder,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, can I ask Jessica a question? You know, those portable bathrooms are nice. They're pretty nice. And I just wonder long range, long-term maintenance and stuff, is if it's almost a better deal to have those kind of porta potties that are, you know, functional and really nice than to build a facility that needs a whole bunch of infrastructure. And
the pricing
is this a long-term, I guess my question is, Jessica, is this a long-term fix, or do you think at some point you'll build a bathroom?
No, so there will be a bathroom at some point north of Sterling Ranch Avenue at the pool and fitness facilities there. However, with the high use of some of our active amenities, and based on feedback we've received from our residents, when we do have parks and shelters that they can rent out, and when they rent them to have a party, or there's a longer event that spans multiple hours, it's helpful to have restrooms. Our lifestyle team often rents portable bathrooms for lifestyle events, but we really are recommending in this case, with an amenity that will get a lot of usage like this, we do think that it is worth the investment to have a service come in and maintain and manage these. It is more cost effective over time. and is easy to maintain and update and upgrade. So we're really leaning on what some other higher end communities have done in the area to manage those, not just sticking a porta potty on a slab of concrete, but having a thoughtful structure that goes around all four sides so that you're not seeing somebody come in and out of the porta potty all the time, having a high level of service so that it's not ever stinky and yucky,
Very
but
good.
providing a level of service at a cost that is manageable for our community, because we spend other people's money. We want to be very thought conscious about the services that we're providing.
Thank you.
Mr. Smethels.
Jessica, my biggest concern on those pickleball courts is our neighbors all around us are going to fill them up because they don't have any.
Mhm.
I'm meeting with Roxborough this morning, and they're licking their chops. How are we going to control that our residents, we're building it, the residents' money for our residents? Now, as a district, we have to let others use it for a fee. But how are we going to control it so that when our residents show up to play pickleball, it's not jammed?
That's a great question, Harold. We started last year with the Resident Advisory Committee, a task force to begin to work on rules regarding pickleball court usage, registration, outside usage, etc. I still have to schedule the meeting, but we've reconstituted that task force and will be refining and looking at those rules so that we can present those through the appropriate committees and CAB board in advance of the ribbon cutting for these courts. Part of the pickle tile system, the glass wall structure, is an app and an RFID access system, which uses that little black box we all have in our pocket. We'll have a registration system where residents versus non-residents can make their registrations. When it's time for their access or open access, they go, hold their phone up to that lock, and it opens it up and they go in. So we'll be able to control access and set specific times for open play, for non-resident play, for tournament play, etc.
Well, but the non-residents pay a fee, don't they?
We will be looking at fees for non-resident users.
Well, that takes 2 hearings. I'm just thinking
those rules will take 2 hearings. So we will, if our intent is to open by the end of May, we would like to have draft rules to start through the process for our March meetings. April at the very latest.
So March should give us plenty of time. And when it's open play, doesn't mean the gate's unlocked. It means that your card still gets you in.
Mm-hmm. Your card would still get you access in. And if you're a non-resident who wants to come for open play, one of my questions to the task force writing and preparing the rules is, what the non-resident fee for open play? Do they get open play, or is there a specific time set aside for non-resident users to join with resident users?
Dick, you have a lot of experience with pickleball courts. I guess where you're located, you don't have many poachers coming in on them.
Not really. No, we're fortunate that we're not easy to get to. So we really don't have any controlled access. It's just open. But one of the things that I wanted to ask Jessica about is lighting, because it's there, you'll have a lot of night pickleball players. Are the
No light.
No lights. Okay.
The Resident Advisory Committee, when reviewing this over the past 3 years, was really pretty adamant that while we could light them, we could put in dark sky approved lighting, but for the community, for what we are, and even some of the avid pickleball players like Mr. King, who's on this call, said sunrise to sunset, plenty of time. In the summer when you're playing more, you get light until 9 or 9:30 at night. No real need for the lights. And frankly, my own experience, we live near Clement Park, and Clement Park has lighting for their pickleball courts. And There are teenagers who are out there playing
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock in the morning, and we don't necessarily want that within our community.
So they
Hmm.
never turn, oh, Mr. Chairman.
They allow
Go
them
ahead.
to turn on and off anytime.
Oh, wow.
I do not envy those residents living immediately surrounding Clement Park.
Yeah, no, I was asking because we do have lights on ours and they're frequently used at dark, and even in the winter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
We've already contemplated when the courts will be closed when there's snow, because we don't want to shovel it because that can ruin the surfacing, all sorts of different things. So we've really taken a deep dive into what other park districts and communities have done, what other cities have done, Parker, Lone Tree, Castle Rock, and have really compiled a great starting point for our guidelines and rules.
Okay. Thank you. Any other, anything else you want to cover, Jessica?
Nope, Kaylin, if you want to skip on through to the
Well,
rest of the
actually,
agenda. Oh, construction.
I had two comments I wanted to make, going back to your John Burns ranking. I found it, obviously, that's extraordinarily complimentary of what we have to offer. But I think on a relative basis, it's even more important because I read the U-Haul report that came out a week or so ago, where I guess U-Haul ranks states for people moving their equipment into and ranks states of people moving their equipment out of. And I guess if my memory serves me correctly, Colorado was one of the top 10 states where U-Haul equipment was being moved into. In other words, people moving here, renting trailers or trucks and driving them here for many years. And this last year, Colorado was in the bottom 10 of the states. So that I think that speaks to what we have to offer, and that the migration into Colorado appears, at least according to U-Haul, to be receding, and yet our growth is still very strong.
Well, in Douglas County specifically, when you look at the state as a whole, Douglas County is the only county in Colorado that had a net gain in population in the past year. It speaks volumes.
Yes, it does. And anyone else want to comment on that? Otherwise, I have one more point for Jessica.
Well, what we're seeing, there's some other indicia showing that people aren't coming here. And they're saying that one of the biggest reasons is the cost of housing. Is it too expensive? I don't believe that. I think that's an issue. But the kinds of people coming from California would find homes here a bargain, and they're not coming. I meet with Jessica puts on these new homeowner orientations, and we meet residents who moved here, and virtually none are coming from out of the state. I think combination of Tres de Agua and Aurora and the Sanctuary City, the mayor is going to have the police force stop the feds at the city, I don't know, county line. Yeah, right. Has really painted Colorado as and downtown, the stabbing downtown on the 6th grand opening of the 16th Street Mall. And the first thing that happened is that flight attendant and that other person were stabbed to death. Colorado has a terrible reputation nationally. People aren't coming, and we're doing well comparatively, but not like we should be. And after the fires in California, there'll be a huge influx of high talented people leaving, going somewhere. They're not coming here. And that feedstock has been what's propelled a lot of our job growth and opportunity. And it's a serious, serious problem. And it is not on the mayor's radar, and the governor's radar is we'll cut housing prices by everybody living in a box over train station. That doesn't work. And we'll redensify the cities. I was at a meeting this week with mayors. There's an association of mayors. They all got together, and you listen to Brighton and Broomfield and Thornton between them have 13,000 lots that are platted, approved, and nobody will build on them because there's no demand. So I think it's a very serious problem for our community. We are the strongest of the system, but the community itself, with Denver in the position it's in, and the state in the position it's in, and this will come as a shock. I haven't heard one person come here because we have wolves, but we're spending millions and millions and millions air freighting wolves in, who, by the way, have the same rights as a citizen in terms of prosecution. The rights, it's a real problem.
Yeah.
Nothing good can happen for our children and for our community. And we have our mountains that everybody loves to go to, but the roads are so bad you can't get there. So I think it's going to be tough sledding for the state. I think we'll be so far this year we're at a little over 3% of the total market. Normally we're 4 or 5. I think that we'll pick up, but the places in Aurora, you can't give a house away out there. I mean, here, Aurora Highlands, it's actually a bigger community. We are sold 2 homes so far this year. People are moving. It's a serious problem. And until we change our elected leadership and priorities, I don't see it getting any better.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
I'll just add to Harold's comments, because Harold always talks about how the Board of County Commissioners and Mayor or Sheriff Weekly, their number one issue is to keep Douglas County safe, and Douglas County is safe. And so for value of our residents, just the ones that live here, sometimes they don't pay attention to what's happening in the local government, but the fact that they are safe in Douglas County is huge. We have renewable water and you're safe. Yeah, one of the few counties that you can come to that's pretty safe.
Yeah. Thank you, Harold and Susan, for addressing that. I think that's really, really important that be talked about, because you're not going to read that in the paper. Thank you very much. My last comment to Jessica, or possibly Gary, with this weather coming, I know we have people that are moving from California and other places where you don't have sub-zero weather. Do we need to worry about, giving people, some new residents, some, suggestions of how to deal with very cold weather? I'm sure you've got something that can handle, any kind of cold weather emergencies, but I just thought it'd be worth throwing that out, since this will be the coldest weather we've had here in quite some time.
Yes, sir. In fact, last Friday, we included some tips and tricks and a link to some information that Douglas County put out about cold weather. And this Friday, we're going to put out some additional information, keeping your kitchen cabinets open, making sure that your heat is on, leave faucets dripping on exterior walls, things like that, to make sure that our residents, especially those who've migrated here from warmer areas, that they know what to be mindful of with those very frigid temperatures overnight.
Good.
Yeah. I was going to say, Mr. Chair, also, Kat King, who's our communications manager, works with Jessica very well and is always looking forward to the kinds of issues that are coming up and how we can deal with them and help people. So, it's all about communication. And as long as someone opens up our emails and reads them, and we have a very high open rate, we think we do a pretty good job of helping folks out.
Yeah.
Good comment.
Thank you. I know that, we all been around for a while, and we kind of know what's coming, but I remember when Cheryl and I first moved up to Lookout Mountain in the late 80s, you would see a bunch of for sale signs pop up after the first couple of heavy snowfalls, because people it just wasn't their thing, and they didn't know how to deal with it, didn't like it. And I sure don't want to see that at Sterling Ranch. And thank you guys for that.
Yes, even the education on the tertiary roads, and that they're like, well, Douglas County hasn't come out and plowed our roads. Make them come out and plow the roads. And it's like, welcome to Colorado. You need to be prepared to be able to drive on packed snow, especially on narrow side streets.
Right. Well, any other comments under management matters? Okay, then we'll We'll move on to item 7, construction matters. Les, you want to take that one?
You bet. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and board members. We're looking forward to a good year this year. As far as getting a lot of things finally accepted by the county, but Titan Road Phase 2, the concrete flat work and asphalt repairs have been completed. We have some minor concrete warranty work to do to the roundabout, and then this will be coordinated with Douglas County. We also have 2 storm sewer inlets to be repaired in March. Finally, and we're waiting until March so that we can get those done without concrete freezing. Finally, 2 townhomes. We have the warranty work. Our portion of the warranty work is done, and we're waiting on Dreamfinders to finish theirs. Finally, 3.
Hey, Les, maybe, and I don't know, I don't think we put our map in here on this for where filing 2 is, but I think let's not forget to keep doing that for the committee members so they recognize what location we're speaking about.
Okay, we'll do that in the future. Finally, 3, asphalt repairs have been completed. And finally, 3A, wet utility work in Prospect Park. Well, we were planning on restarting it on January 20th. That's going to be pushed back a little bit. We have to do a little bit of redesign, which I believe Jessica might have touched on earlier. The plan for landscaping that is required on the north side of filing 3B has been revised, and we have received the pricing, and the change order was in your packet this month for approval, and we plan on starting in the spring. Next slide, please. Finally, 4, Richmond's concrete contractors nearly finished with their portion of the work. And finally, 4A and B, the concrete work for the builder damage in the alleys has not started, and then we're pushing the Richmond JDA to get that completed. The cab contractors continue to work in filing 4A and 4B, and we're just about done with our portion of that concrete work. Unfortunately, the cold weather has kind of pushed everything back until probably March. And the same thing with filing 4C. TriPoint is meeting with their concrete contractor to do their builder damage repairs to the concrete in 4B, probably in the spring. Next slide. Middle Fork, here again, we've got some landscaping that needs to be done on the west side of Middle Fork in the tree lawns, and we have pricing on that, and that change order is in your packet for approval this month as well. Jake, you want to chime in on Middle Fork here for a minute?
Sure. So we just submitted the forms to Douglas County for final acceptance of 3 of the 4 phases on Middle Fork, which will total about $430,000 of our security bond that we freed up for other filings. We're also really close. I know Les hasn't talked about it quite yet, but with 5A, Pulte, we're close to being able to submit for those as well.
Thank you, Jake. As he said, 5A or 5, we're real close to finishing all of that stuff with Pulte and TriPoint.
Excuse me, Les. Harold, let's see your hand up. Did you want to ask a question to Les?
I did. Back on filing 2 and Titan Road. Yes. Will that work when that's completed? Does that finish the turnover to the county? Yes, sir, it will. So we'll be fine, because we built that, what, 7 or 8 years ago, and we're learning the hard way. The longer the county can delay turnover, the more damage the snowplows do and that we have to fix. And at some point, Les, I'd like an aging as we go through here on the those that are delayed over, say, the 2-year time frame of county turnover. Because my sense of it is it's costing our residents a lot of money that really the county snowplows have done or elsewhere. But I could be 100% wrong. It just seemed the sooner we get that to their maintenance than ours, we're already paying for it with taxes. Just appreciate that.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Mr. Chair. I mean, Harold, we need to finish up a lot of these final acceptances and get these off of our books.
And that's our goal for this year. The only filing that we will have left, because we'll be finishing the Titan Road, we'll be finishing a little bit of the stuff and filing to the townhome portion. Filing 4, we're wrapping that up, and that stuff filing for A, B, and C, and we'll get that stuff done this coming spring. And then that leaves filing 3 that will need to be that's part of the advanced concrete issue that we've had with some of the other areas, and we're going to wrap that all up this coming year, and that will put us on track for everything else being turned over to the county for final acceptance within the 2-year period, that our 2-year warranty period, so that at that end of that 2 years, it's the counties. So
Good.
After this year, we should be right on track for everything being turned over as required in the 2-year warranty.
Good. Thank you.
You bet. Filing 5C, a sanitary sewer to filing 3 that's hung under the bridge has been completed. We got 2 manholes, sorry, that we still need to get testing completed on, and that will happen. I think that might be happening today. Construction of the wet utilities has been completed in both the townhome portion, lot 1, and the Alliance portion, lot 2. They've got everything done as of last week. Alley construction will continue as soon as this, probably in March. I'm gonna go 6A and 6B and 6C together. The home builders are currently progressing with the construction of their production homes in all 3 filings. 7A South is pretty much wrapped up for utilities, wet utilities, and 7A, and they're going to start with 7A North utilities next week. Some of the concrete sidewalks and asphalting has been done in 7A South for the model homes that will be progressing later this spring. And unless anybody else has any questions, I think that's pretty well wraps it up.
Thank you, Les. I do have one question. This may be a stupid question, but that sanitary sewer that's above ground hanging on the bridge there, what keeps that from freezing in super cold weather?
It's insulated. It has a 2.5 inch insulation, insulated blanket that's all the way around it. It's basically a sleeve that's over that sewer line.
Okay, good.
And it's the same installation that they use when they hang the similar type structures in Canada. So if it works in Canada, it should be good enough to work here.
Yeah,
keep it from freezing.
Yeah, we don't want to plug that baby up, that's for sure. So
That's right.
Thank you.
You bet.
Jack, Greg, Susan, Harold, any other questions for Les? Okay,
Negative.
all right.
No,
let's-
thanks, Les.
Yeah, appreciate it very much, Les.
We do.
You're welcome.
Moving forward to item 8, finance and accounting. Andreas, you're up.
Thank you. So for this month, we're showing roughly $966,000 in work orders and change orders. The biggest contributor this month, as Les mentioned in his construction report, are the work orders to complete the landscape work in filing 3B North by Willow Creek for roughly $382,000. And the landscaping work west of Middle Fork Street in filing 5 for $182,000. In addition, we have one more work order coming through for Loya Construction for repair work for a little bit under $150,000. The majority of that work will be paid and collected from the builders. So there's little to none financial exposure to the CAB. And then in addition to all the other work orders, we see some engineering and management in filing 7 and some costs and work orders for Prospect Park. All of those work orders for construction adding up to $844,000. On the bottom, we would like to add on 2 contracts that we'd ask for recommendation for approval. One is for LB Ecological. That is for the weed management around Sterling Ranch over the whole development that the CAB is currently maintaining. We have a Perfect Pools. This is for the lifeguards in for the overlook. This comes very early in the season, but usually this is something that needs to get lined up and approved before the pool gets opened up. All of those work orders and change orders remain within the forecasted budget for 2025, and staff would ask for recommendation for approval and moving this forward for the board on consent.
Okay, very good. Cam, do we want to recommend these one at a time, or can we do work orders and pay applications together?
I think you would do work orders, pay applications, and the presented contracts in one fell swoop.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Andreas regarding the work order and change order presentation he just made? Okay. Hearing none, let's move forward into pay applications.
Thank you. This month's pay application totaling a little bit under $537,000. Again, that was a change compared to the package that got sent out. I apologize. There was a mistake in the formula totaling up all the pay applications. Basically, what we're seeing here is a lot of retention releases for streetlights, for landscaping work. We see pay applications coming in for all the repair work that has been conducted over the last few months. All of those pay applications are within the contracted amount, and staff has nothing out of the ordinary to report on this month's pay application. And just like the work orders and change orders, we would ask the committee to move this forward on consent for the board for next week if there are no further questions.
I don't have any questions for you, Andreas. Anyone else? Okay.
No.
Hearing none, I would like to ask for a motion to recommend work orders and change orders totaling $996,325 and simultaneously pay applications totaling $537,057 for recommendation to be added to the consent agenda for the next board meeting. Can I get a motion for that?
I'll move that. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll second it. I'd moved it, but my mic was off. So sorry.
Thank you,
I'll
Harold.
second
Thank you,
it.
Susan.
Thank you.
I also agree that motion carries. We will recommend that for the next board meeting. And actually, the January board meeting, I understand, has been canceled. Is that correct? The next board meeting will be in February. Is that correct?
That is
You're
correct.
correct.
Okay, very good. Is there any other business to come before this committee today? Okay.
I did have one question. You know, the horrific California fires have everybody sensitive to fires. And I know, Gary, you're working on communication, you know, and we're trying to get our cattle back. For some reason, they didn't graze off some of our southern property. I'm a little nervous about that. But putting that aside, do we have, and this is maybe for Les, do we have agreement, contract, whatever, if a fire does break out, we can mobilize that equipment and get it for fire breaks straight away? Is that in writing or do we want it in writing?
We really don't have it in writing, but it's been, we've got such a good working relationship with Monks. They've always been agreeable to providing whatever equipment we need to provide those fire breaks. If we need to get it in writing, then that's something that we can probably put together and execute with Monks.
My gut tells me it would be good to have at least a memorandum of understanding. I'm not so sure you need a contract, but something we can point to. So if at 2 a.m. we get another fire over at the, say on the Denver Waterland where they don't maintain, you know, they don't graze that off. And at 2 a.m. we can call Monks and somehow they can't be contractual because you can't count on it, but they would do best efforts, et cetera, to mobilize crew and come out here and fire up those dinosaurs and get some things cut. Or something.
Gary and I can come up with something and present that to Monks.
I think that's a great idea.
I think a memorandum that also kind of like has like designated contacts and things like that just kind of embraces our mutual agreement to try to help each other out in that case. I think if we try to make it a contract, you know, I'm gonna have to talk to another pesky lawyer and it's gonna get bogged down and there's gonna be, you know, disclaimers and representations and it would take a long time to get done. But I think a memorandum of understanding based off of, you know, mutual interest, I think could be accomplished pretty easily.
I think if we did that, it would give our residents peace, you know, that we're doing everything we know how to do to keep fire from being a problem here.
Rob, can you do us a favor and outline who you contacted and the process from when we addressed the fire that broke out south of here in late 24? Because I think it would be helpful to have, we provided a map of the location and the area, request of what we wanted done, who you reached out to. I think that would help us with creating that memorandum.
Yes, I'll work with Les on that and get him the applicable information. No problem.
We have the land south of us worries me a lot because you've got Sharptail Ridge back there. Nothing happens there. And then you've got the Denver Water Board. They don't graze that off. I mean, if you're the right perfect place to start a fire, it's there. So having being particular attention to that, I think it would be helpful for our residents. And then another question on somewhat related. As our contractors have those big water buffaloes, you know, for spraying, that type of thing. If there was a fire, say, if one of our had it, are those available to the county? I was at a meeting the other day, and their whole, a large part of the county, there's no water there, and there's no way of fighting a fire. And I just wonder, I mean, this is a minor thing, maybe Susan down your line or maybe we just wait till I ask, but having those big water tanks might be very helpful to some people and for fire prevention, but I don't know. I went to their, Commissioner Layden has a wildfire mitigation group that meets, and I went to him and I started raising some questions. Should we be pre-positioning water in some of these high-risk areas? The fire department is pretty protective, but county knowing that those available might be helpful. In fact, the problem I had was it devolved into, there was a couple folks from Roxborough that were convinced they were all going to die if there were a fire there because Sterling Ranch would plug up their road system. And to which I responded that we had the head of FEMA come in zoning who said, why in the world would you ever evacuate Sterling Ranch? That's where you have medical and water and heat and light and gas and everything you need. Why would you evacuate? It came down to the fact that if there is a fire back up in the Roxborough area, that's a real problem getting out of Roxborough. Once they get here, they're fine. It's kind of an interesting discussion. I digress. But I think I think just knowing as you're talking to those folks, if the county ever needed them, it might just be good to let them know that, gee, we've got so many water buffaloes here that for a fee can be, the county rents them and get there. Something to think about.
Mhm.
Minor deal.
I'd like to,
Anyway,
kind of along those lines, been following the fires in Southern California as well. And one of the more frightening aspects is that some of the hydrants, when they went to hook, the fire department went to hook their hoses to, had no water in them. And some of the stories I've heard or explanations I've heard is that some of the water systems are built, like I know our community system at Mount Vernon are built to have the capacity to maybe handle 2 or 3 houses on fire at the same time, and then you're out of water. It might be of some comfort to our residents to explain the capacity Sterling Ranch has. I think that high zone tank has like 2 million gallons, and I think the low zone tank has 3 million gallons. That's a huge amount of water that could be called on in an emergency to fight a large fire. Plus the interconnect with Littleton, which could help replenish those tanks. I don't know, Harold, do you think that that's something our neighborhood might draw some comfort in knowing those details?
Absolutely. I hadn't thought of it. You mentioned it there. Sure. Because you're right. We've got 2.4 million high zone, 1.2 million low zone, 3.6 million total. And I know what they do when they start seeing wildfires take up. If there's any, because the high zone tank fluctuates, they fill that sucker.
Right.
And I think that's a really good point. I mean, 3.2 million gallons is more than I have trouble head around how much water that is coming out of fire. What is it? What someone tell me what time is it 3,400 gallons or 3,600 gallons a minute for 4 or 5 hours, something like that those tanks will provide. That's an interesting ratio. I think our rest would like to know. We can compute it pretty quickly. That's a lot of water.
And the important thing is that those tanks are filled. I mean, an empty tank is of no use, but the high and low zone tanks typically are filled most of the time, as I understand it.
That is correct. Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, last March, we put out a letter with our fire mitigation processes here at Sterling Ranch and embarked on an educational campaign for our residents because even without the wildfires in California, we see a lot of local risk and insurance providers leaving the area due to some of the risk factors here in Colorado. And Sterling Ranch is kind of, as you indicated, an island in the middle of a very high-risk area.
Mhm.
We currently have a fire protection class rating of ISO PC1, which when you talk to insurance agents, that is an exemplary fire protection rating because of all of the specific things that we implement here, from the design guidelines, with builders all the way through landscaping and everything. Residents during the new homeowner orientation or our landscape class, they're always like, why do you want us to put in concrete split rail fence? It's so expensive. And then I talked to them about the Marshall Fire and how those split rail fences were matchsticks that spread the fire up and down blocks. And they go, oh, that's a good idea. I think I'll spend a little bit more on that concrete fence instead of a wood fence. It's those types of thoughtful things that we've laid out that help make Sterling Ranch very safe. And we're coming up on 1 year since we did that last communication. So I'm working with Kat, our communications manager, on refreshing that, updating it, sending out not only the fire management letter that we outline the landscape design, vegetation management, appropriate building materials, fire breaks, et cetera, but also that fire protection rating that we have, along with the wildfire hazard overlay map, which is compiled and published by Douglas County, that shows that we are excluded from that wildfire hazard overlay district.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really impressive.
It is really impressive. I will also add that with the development of Waterton Business Park, that area to the east that Sterling Ranch Acquisitions has purchased, that we are going to provide fire suppression for the EVOC, the County Emergency Vehicle Operations Center, that did not have fire suppression. And I have heard that Plum Valley does not have fire suppression pressure in their pipes. So I think I've asked Andrea, Harold, I've asked Andrea to look into, as we do that infrastructure, is there something that we can offer to them to help with emergency access to fire suppression water? Because, you know, we're pretty close to Plum Valley, and what's good for them is good for us when it comes to fire mitigation. And I did, at the last Roxborough 1 meeting, I heard that their house insurance went up 40% because of their fire risk. That's pretty significant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, and after these fires, can you imagine what this is going to do to the balance sheets of those insurance companies? They've got to recoup. All of our rates are going up. And so the more we can avoid that, like the worst thing, the better, because I'm expecting a huge increase in, and a lot of folks just can't get fire insurance at all.
Yeah.
And I also, think with the hydrants being dry, insurance companies, one of the criteria for assessing your fire vulnerability used to be the distance from a hydrant. I wouldn't be surprised if they want some data showing how much water supplies that hydrant that they're measuring from your home.
You're probably right. That's a good point.
Okay. Any other comments for the committee this morning, anyone? Okay. Hearing none, I'll thank everyone for joining in. Harold, Susan, Jack, Greg, Rob, staff, thank you so much for what I think was a very productive and good meeting. So I will call the meeting adjourned at 11 o'clock, and we'll see everyone in February.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. Thanks, everyone.
Have a great day.
Thank
Bye.
you.